The Atlanta Falcons just revealed not only their draft plans, but their plans for the offseason. And in this video, I'm going to break it down really quick, but give me 2 seconds. Let me explain and set the stage. So today, the Atlanta Falcons GM and coach had a press conference at the Combine, basically saying, oh, here's what's going on. Raheem Morris didn't say too much. He just gave the trajectory of the team kind of speech. But Terry Fontenot said a lot. And if you can inadvertently pick up cues of what he was saying, it kind of showcases where I think they're going to go in the future. Okay. Let me read this tweet to you. This #1 tweet that kind of gets you in the mindset of Terry Fontenot. And it's by Will McFadden. And he says, Terry Fontenot says that there won't be 14 players who come off the draft board before the first defensive player is taken. Says that this draft is loaded defensively. I think this is a change from the recent Terry Fontenot draft philosophy. He's always been get the best player available, get the best player available, get the best player available, get the player with the highest ceiling. But we see here that he kind of drills down and he realizes this draft is deep defensively. We may need to invest in the draft going forward. This is followed by another tweet that says, talking about the defense again with Terry Fontenot, where he says basically national championship Dominski, but they're quoting Terry Fontenot. And he says, Terry Fontenot indicated that the Falcons D-line needs to get big and physical. I know that's wishful thinking, but I hope that they stay true to that. Essentially, it's a change in the mindset that we're seeing. Terry Fontenot not only says this is one of the better defensive drafts in a long time, but we need to get bigger up front from the defensive line. That means, and to me, that is a key indicator that he is thinking defense and will probably heavily think defense throughout this draft. Here's another tweet that's very, very interesting that I want to read that kind of shows this defensive, I hate to say paralysis, but this defensive focus. This is by Dr. Orlando Ledbetter. It says the Falcons to have defensive draft. None of the Falcons' assistant offensive coaches will attend the Combine. Let me reread that. None of the Falcons' offensive assistant coaches will attend the Combine. That is insane. Let me continue. The Falcons are using all 45 of their interview meetings on defensive players. This is, once again, another shift in the mindset of Terry Fontenot. He says, our offense is good. We may need to sign some players in the trenches on the offensive line, but from a skill position, from a quarterback position, we are good. We need to invest on the defense and the defensive line, and these tweets and his verbiage has said that. And to be honest, going forward, I would not be shocked if we select 4, 5, 6 defensive players in this year's draft, because they're slowly hinting at it, and that is a change in the philosophy of Terry Fontenot. Maybe he learned, and maybe he's saying, okay, I need a defense to win games. Let me go out and get a defense. Now, talking about defense, it always comes up. I would say probably our better defensive player, Grady Jarrett, he is due basically he could get waived this year. And if he gets waived, he would save the Atlanta Falcons $16 million this year. Now, there's been questions, is he going to stay on the team? And today, Terry Fontenot kind of addressed that. And he addressed it in the tweet that says this, basically. When asked about Grady Jarrett and his value to the team, Raheem Morris said you can't really put a value on what that guy does. He says it's sometimes more than just a business decision when evaluating a player's status with a team. So that was Raheem Morris. Now let me double down and tell you what Terry Fontenot says. So he talks about Grady Jarrett, but he says, according to Dr. Orlando Ledbetter, Terry Fontenot wouldn't call Grady Jarrett an untouchable. So there's 2 things we can find from that. Number 1, the team values Grady Jarrett. I don't think there's any question. The city's values Grady Jarrett. And if they are able to sign him to a long-term contract extension, or they can restructure his contract, they would love to keep Grady Jarrett on the team. And I think that's understood by me as a fan, but also as them internally of the organization. But I will caveat and say this. The Atlanta Falcons, if Grady Jarrett is not willing to restructure or take a contract extension that's reduced, they will let him go. They will waive him. So I will say this going forward. The Atlanta Falcons will probably restructure Grady Jarrett, and if he doesn't want to get restructured, he will be waived. And so, in the next few months, we will probably see Grady Jarrett restructured because they want to keep him on the team, and that was reflected in Raheem Morris's comments. More to understand about this day. The big news of the day, I would probably say, is the Kirk Cousins situation and what's going on with there. Both coaches basically talked about Kirk Cousins and the quarterback position. I'll first start by Raheem Morris, and he says, plain and simple, when I read the tweet, basically, Michael Penix is our quarterback. So there's no question that Kirk Cousins is not starting for the Atlanta Falcons ever again. Now, more importantly, here's where it comes down, and I talked about this in my previous videos. It's about the Atlanta Falcons standing up for themselves and saying, hey, Kirk, you did this to us. We didn't really like it. So you know what? You either do this or you'll sit behind Michael Penix. And so this tweet that says is by Tori McElhaney. She says, Terry Fontenot said in a scrum with a local media that the Falcons' stance on Kirk Cousins and his future in Atlanta hasn't changed since January, which is that the Falcons plan to move forward with Kirk Cousins as Michael Penix Jr.'s backup. Essentially saying, Kirk Cousins will not be waived. The Falcons are willing to eat that $10 million bonus that they would get if they didn't waive Kirk Cousins. But I will say this. The Atlanta Falcons are staying pat and saying, Kirk, if you don't waive your no-trade policy or clause, we will keep you. You will be sitting behind Michael Penix, and you probably won't ever play in the NFL again. And because of that, Kirk Cousins has a decision to make. Either waive his no-trade clause or not play football again. And as simple as that. And I'm proud of the Atlanta Falcons for standing on business and saying, we're not going to waive you, boss. You either play, you either waive your no-trade clause, or you can get out of Dodge. And I appreciate that. Those were essentially the main highlights. The Atlanta Falcons, I want to recap, the Atlanta Falcons are focusing on defense going forward. No assistant offensive coaches are going to be on the combine. 2, they would like to keep Grady Jarrett, but if it's too pricey and if he's not willing to negotiate with them, I think they'll be willing to let him go. And 3, Kirk Cousins, they are standing on business with Kirk Cousins, and we'll see. Kirk, the ball is in your court now. We'll see what kind of decisions you want to make. But, like I said, a lot to unpack today, and I appreciate the Atlanta Falcons giving some sort of transparency to what's going forward. Now, if they come out and draft a receiver first round, then all of this was a facade. But I legitimately think that the Atlanta Falcons will probably take 5 or 6 draft picks in this year's draft and draft straight defensive players. They know that's a need, and that's where they're going to target. But if you agree or disagree, leave a comment down below. Let me know. And if you want to see more videos like this, check this one out right here. And like always,